Hi, Seal.
Hello.
Hi. I was like, oh, did I use the wrong? Oh, there's Melissa. Is Lynn in the waiting room?
I don't know. There are like 10 people. Are you joining from two places?
Me?
Yeah.
No.
I have another
Why?
one called Paula. The same name. It says waiting.
Oh, I was in the waiting. Maybe. Well, hi, Melissa.
Hi.
Maybe.
So maybe it's just like showing everyone because I've already admitted you. Let me see when I admit you again, who is going to pop up. Let's see.
Oh,
Another Paula.
that's weird. Maybe I'm. Oh, hi. Oh, you're
Wait,
sound.
you're muted.
Oh.
Oh, she came as me. Oh, I sent her my link.
Oh,
Lynn,
okay.
can you change your name? Because it said you come up as me.
Okay, tell me how to.
I can't
There's
change.
three.
So Lynn,
You can change it? Okay, because I'm not.
I
There's
can
three
change it.
dots. Okay.
Yeah, I can change it. Larry.
That would be lovely. Thank you.
Oh, my video is not. Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Let me see.
And it's L-I-N. L-A-R-S-O-N.
Lynn Larson. Is that correct pronunciation?
Yeah, Lynn.
Lynn. Okay.
L-I-N, not
Sorry.
L-A-R-I.
Lynn Larson.
Yeah.
It
Lynn,
says L-A-R-I.
Sorry. Lynn Larson.
Oh, Larry. She wrote Larry. Oh.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Sorry.
that's better. Thank you.
I'm sorry. Yeah, it's my mistake. Sorry.
That's okay. Not to
So
worry.
good
Good
to
morning,
see you.
ladies.
Hi.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. How are you all?
Nice. Nice to Zoom
well.
meet you.
Absolutely. So, Paula, you are in the States right now, correct?
I am in the States. Yes, I'm in Wisconsin. Yeah, you can hear my accent.
Yeah. And what about you other ladies? Where are you located right now?
Doha.
Doha?
Yes, I'm in Qatar as well.
Oh, nice.
In Doha.
I have a really good friend who works at VCU.
Okay, what's her name?
Greet.
Okay, I know the name, but I haven't.
Fabulous person. If you ever need anything, she's a great resource.
Great.
We want to, how many people are out there?
So there are 15. So we need to start very soon. So I would just like to note one thing for Lynn. So so nice to see you. So nice to put names to faces. So Lynn, once we get to the part that's related to you, would you like us to go through the slides, or would you like to go through the slides by yourself? This is one.
Why don't you, since you're recording, why don't you go through the slides?
Okay, great.
That's usually the easiest way to do it. Yeah.
Great. Just let me know when you need me to go next if I'm not moving.
I can do that.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
And if you like to change your background, although it looks great.
So I've tried changing my background on Zoom, but because my apartment is so bright, all I see is like the background anyway. Plus,
Okay.
like every time I move, I disappear.
Oh, yeah.
yes, because of movement.
And there's nothing I can do about the brightness, unfortunately.
No.
No, but you're
nice.
coming through clear, so that's good.
Okay.
Yeah. So, ladies, would you like us to start? Because
Yeah.
So I will not start the video, the live streaming, unless we really start.
Okay.
So I just need to click on.
Technology, it's amazing.
Yeah.
All the new things to learn how to navigate and.
Yeah.
And I think we met, well, I don't know if we met in person actually, because now I'm trying to think where it would have been, but we've definitely emailed. So.
Were you at the forum last year or the year before?
Yes. Yes.
That's
so,
probably where we met.
Where we met. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm trying to place where, but yes. So
Yeah, probably.
I think I'm having problem with the live stream. Let me do it again. So I don't know why it doesn't allow live streaming, because we need to check this before we admit anyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Thanks for your patience.
Oh, no worries, you know. It's amazing that we're able to do these kinds of things these days, you know,
I know.
half a world apart. So Melissa, how are things in Doha? How are the cases and stuff?
So they've been peaking a bit, and so now, since they feel like they've reached a peak-ish area, they're slowly starting to open up a little bit. So we're in phase 1 of 3 in terms of reopening, which just started on Monday. So I think they'll reassess kind of what the situation is there. We haven't had as many deaths as other places, which is very, very fortunate here.
Right.
But the number of cases has been, you know, rising continuously.
Yeah. How many cases have you guys had?
In total, that's a good question where we're at now. Maybe 70.
Qatar?
Plus? Yeah, Qatar. What was
Qatar,
the last
22,000 something.
The current active, but there's been more than that total.
Yeah, but now the current active, because I have ihtiraz, so it shows you how many. So ladies, we are kind of ready. So yeah, so I wouldn't stream it live unless we really start.
Okay. We'll just let people in and
everything.
Then we'll...
Yeah, everything is ready. Just that I need to click go live. So I'll let people in and then we can start. But before you start, just give me like a gesture.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep. Okay, so.
And I assume you ladies would like to do the introductions of yourselves first.
Yeah, and then I'll introduce you, Lynn, with your bio. Thank you for sharing that.
So if you allow me, I'm going to admit everyone, and all of them will be on mute mode, and I'll start right now.
Okay.
You're going to share the presentation then?
Yep.
Welcome to everyone that's joining. Great to see so many names, some familiar names and some familiar faces. We'll just wait for a few more to get on and we will be getting started. So just a reminder as well, this will be streamed on the Education USA Qatar Facebook page. So your comments and questions will be coming in on either one, and we'll be sure to share what those questions or comments are so that everyone can benefit from the responses. And I think we will get started now. So again, welcome to everyone joining for today's session. My name is Melissa Deschamps. I am the Regional Educational Advising Coordinator for Education USA, working with most of the Education USA centers in the Middle East and North Africa. So we're very happy to have you join us. Just to give you a very quick introduction about Education USA, if you're not as familiar with it, it is the official source of US higher education. It is a US State Department network. So we are located globally. And here in Qatar, we have the privilege to have 2 wonderful colleagues working on the Education USA portfolio. So you'll hear from both Paula and Asil in a moment, who will introduce themselves. And definitely please be following our social media pages so that you can learn more about the other sessions, other opportunities, resources that we have available. So again, I will welcome you all and I'll turn it over to Paula.
Hi, I'm Paula Masad. I'm the English Language and Education Advisor at the U.S. Embassy in Doha. Asil?
Hello, everyone. I'm Asil Ogheli. I'm the Education Advisor. I arrived in March to Doha. Welcome to everyone.
Yeah. And I would like to warmly welcome Lynn Larson, our presenter today. Lynn Larson currently holds the position of Director of Student Recruitment in the College of Engineering at the University of Texas in Arlington. She has worked almost exclusively in international recruitment and admissions at 4 institutions of higher education in the US for over 20 years. At UTA, Ms. Larson sits on several university-wide committees, sharing her insight into all things international, including the newest group of tackling COVID-19, looking at fall term options, student mobility, and more. So we're very excited to have you, Lynn. Welcome. I would just like to remind participants that if you do have questions, please type them in the chat box, and we will address all questions at the end of Lynn's presentation. Thank you.
Great, and thank you everyone for coming to this session, and thank you Education USA for allowing me to be part of the Qatar family today. It's absolutely wonderful. I was supposed to be in Qatar in March, but obviously that didn't happen, and it made me very sad. So I'm very thankful for this opportunity. Excuse me. I am the Director of Student Recruitment in the College of Engineering, and I'm not an engineer, but I've learned a lot about engineering. So I thought I would share some tips on how to apply for an engineering program in the US, some hints, some tips, and some other information. So we can get started with the next slide, please. So here's kind of the agenda of what we're going to cover today. We'll talk a little bit about the difference of undergraduate and graduate application preparations, the undergraduate admission criteria, how to decide what area of study you want to go into in engineering, exams, student services, all these fabulous things that go hand in hand with education at a university in the US. Same with graduate admissions is done a little bit differently. Looking for faculty who share your same interests. Again, exam requirements, what is a letter of recommendation, a statement of purpose, and then post-graduation options. And we'll also touch on email protocol. The thing that is going to be coming up again and again is that every single university in the US makes their own admission criteria. So what I'm going to talk about is very general with my experience in the 4 institutions I've worked at. So you need to make sure that, you know, what I say is general and not specific to just my school. So next slide, please. So first, let's talk about undergraduate applicants. Admission requirements are going to include things like your test scores, your GPA, your percentage in your courses that you're taking in high school. We look at all 4 years, paying particular attention to the 2nd and 3rd year of senior high school, and looking at the kinds of courses that you're taking. Oops, I think we're on automatic. Courses that you're taking in your year 12. We also require or have required SAT or ACT, but right now we're waiving those requirements. We do need a proof of English proficiency, which would be TOEFL, IELTS, or Duolingo. Each institution has its own set of requirements. So at my previous institution, which was highly competitive public institution, students were not even considered for engineering unless they had the highest level math and physics and computer science courses. Whereas at my institution, we're competitive, but not quite as competitive as my previous institution. So as long as you have strong grades and experience in math and sciences, the likelihood of you being admitted is very high. Some institutions will require a statement of purpose, or why do you want to study engineering? Some institutions may have specific essay questions for you to answer. When you are working on those, make sure to remember that it's your story you want to tell, not the story of your father or your grandfather, but it's your story that you want to come out. Why do you want to study engineering? Why is it important to you? Why choose the school you're going to? What do you intend to learn, and what do you intend to do after graduation? Letters of recommendation, make sure you get those from teachers who like you. and know about your ability to be successful in a classroom. That's really important. Believe it or not, I've seen a couple of letters of recommendation that are like, yeah, the student's in my class and they're only doing so-so. So make sure that it is a teacher that knows you and knows your academic abilities. Next, please. So for undergraduates, again, you've got to love math. The basis for any engineering program is math. And once you come to the university, you're going to take at least another year, if not 2, of math courses at very high levels. So if you don't love math, engineering is probably not going to be for you. There are so many different areas of engineering for students to get into. There's bioengineering and civil and industrial, mechanical and aerospace and chemical and petroleum, just all kinds of different things for you to do. So when you come in as an undergraduate, you get to spend the first 2 years experimenting with different types of courses. So at my institution, one of the first classes you're going to take as an engineering potential student is Introduction to Engineering, where we talk about all the different types of engineering. So you can kind of start thinking about what kind of engineering you want to go into. After that first introductory course, maybe you think you want to do software engineering. So you'll take Introduction to Software Engineering. During that course, you may decide, yes, this is what I want to do, or you're like, yeah, no, let's go a different direction. So it might be computer science or computer engineering or even electrical engineering. So there are courses available at almost every engineering school to help guide you to where you want to be at the end. There's always opportunities for doing projects, research, and internships. One of the things that's important for an undergraduate to consider is the campus location. Is it in an urban setting, a rural setting, a suburban setting? Is it close or far away from family? You know, if you have family in the States, do you want to live close to them or other friends, or you want to be as far away as possible? The other thing to consider is weather, okay? In Qatar, the weather is very similar year round, right? It gets very hot, it gets a little cool, it gets hot. In the United States, there's so many different regions, and each region has its own weather patterns. So where I live now in Dallas, we're getting into the summertime where it'll be very hot and humid, maybe up to about 38 or 40 during the summer months. But in the winter months, we may go down to like -5. And we don't get snow, but we'll get a lot of rain and wind and things like that. And it's also kind of humid about half the year. So it does change. In other parts of the United States, there's snow. So do you want to experience living in snow? I've done that. It's an experience. I moved because I was tired of shoveling all that snow. We got so much of it, okay? Do you want to be close to the ocean? Do you want to be somewhere that's very cosmopolitan? So those are important things to think about as an undergraduate student, because this is where you're going to become an adult, okay? So you're going to go from being a teenager to an adult in this location, and you want to make sure it's good for you in that location. The other thing to consider is campus life. What about student services available to you? Most schools have a health center and tutoring, help with depression or homesickness, things like that. There's also other kinds of services like academic services, guidance, things like that. What kinds of clubs and organizations does the school have? If you're involved in something now, you want to continue that involvement. So you want to make sure the school you're looking at has the same kinds of clubs and organizations that you're interested in now. Career services is also very important. At my institution, we have a career services office in the main student center that works with every single student on campus, no matter what their major is. In the College of Engineering, we have a specific staff member who also creates programs to help students find their careers. So she also hosts 2 job fairs every year, one in the spring, one in the fall, for only engineering students, where we'll have over 100 different employers come into the campus to talk to our engineering students. She also does resume workshops, interview experiences, bringing in alumni from the area to talk to potential upcoming graduates so that they know how to interview. And then there's also post-graduation options, 1 to 3 years of optional practical training after graduation, which is where you get to use what you've learned in the classroom in a company or business setting. So that's a very exciting part of education. Next, please. So for graduate applicants, you want to consider some of those same issues, but your admission criteria is going to be based upon your bachelor degree academic success, your knowledge of a subject matter, and in many, many cases, if you have a bachelor degree in one subject in engineering, it's pretty likely you're going to be able to use that background information to apply to the same subject at the master's level. It's not very easy to move from, let's say, electrical engineering to civil engineering or computer science, because there are some courses taught at the bachelor level that you're going to need at the graduate level. If you're missing too many of those required prerequisite courses or experiential courses, it's likely you may not be admitted to that specific program. So that's one of the things you want to look into when you're looking at graduate programs, is take the time to look at a departmental website to see what the criteria is for admission. And that's going to be available at almost every single institution I know of. Again, we're going to look at your grades or your marks, your GRE, and TOEFL, IELTS, or Duolingo. We are waiving the GRE for this fall semester and trying to figure out what's going to happen in the future with COVID-19. We may even be waiving it for future semesters. So keep in touch, and perhaps you won't have to sit through that grueling experience. For PhD candidates, you need all of the above plus specific departmental supplemental information. And this is going to, again, be university by university, department by department. Sometimes that additional information will include a list of your publications, your research, things that you did in your bachelor or master's program. One of the nice things about UT Arlington is you can apply as a master's student, and after your first semester, you can talk to your faculty mentor and say, hey, I'm really interested in a PhD. So you will then be tracked towards your PhD and earn your master's on your way to getting your PhD. So you can actually apply from a bachelor to the master's program and then switch to the PhD track if you so choose, which I think is a very fabulous option for students. And again, keep in mind that every institution is going to have a different requirement. And at the master's and PhD level, it's the faculty who make the decisions as to who is going to be joining that department or institution. Most master's programs will require a statement of purpose, some research experience, or publications, and that's especially true at the PhD level. Letters of recommendation are often required, and it can include at least one academic letter of recommendation. If you have work experience between your bachelor degree and deciding to go to grad school, one of your letters can also come from your employer or from a supervisor of a project. It's critical for graduate students. Yeah, you can go on to the next slide. It's critical for graduate students to find at least one faculty member who has your same interests. This is especially true at the PhD level, because they're the ones who are going to lead you, mentor you, and guide you through your master's and perhaps your PhD program. So the best way I can describe it is that I'm interested in history. There's a whole lot of history out there. I'm specifically interested in Japanese history, but Japanese history between 1540 and 1630. Okay, so if I wanted to do a PhD or a master's, I need to make sure the university I go to has a professor or two that is a specialist in that exact period of time. Because if I went to a school and the professors were only teaching Japanese history starting in like 1800 forward, right, that's not going to help me a whole lot. So As a master's and especially as a PhD student, you really need to take the time to do that research to find faculty who have your exact same interest. There are research options, and you want to make sure when you're looking at a master's or PhD program that those options offer the exact area of interest. Are there more faculty who share my interest? What research and projects is each department emphasizing at the schools that I'm looking at? Is that something I'm interested in or not so much? So that's also an important thing to see what the mission of that department is. And again, almost every single graduate school has a career center to help students apply for internships and optional practical training after graduation. Next, please. So funding is very important. Every institution has its own format, requirement, and available funding. For undergraduate students, some universities offer merit, aid, or scholarships, which would be based upon your successful academic history. Some institutions are able to offer need-based aid, which is giving you money because you need money to attend the institution. That is more common in private schools than it is in public schools. Any kind of money you may get may be a small amount or a large amount. It can be a one-time or renewable. You can automatically be offered a scholarship, and sometimes you need to fill out a separate application. Again, every single institution, and there's 4,500 of them or more in the US, is going to have their own requirements for giving undergraduate students scholarships. At the graduate level, money is mostly in the form of assistantships, which means a graduate assistantship can do general work in an office anywhere on campus. If you get a GA-ship, your tuition is lowered and you also get a stipend. You can have a teaching assistantship where you're actually teaching courses on behalf of a professor or with a professor. Or you can be a research assistant where you're actually helping someone do research. So there's different kinds. There are some scholarships available at the graduate level, but not enough to cover all of your educational costs. Funding can come either from the university or from a department. At my school, for undergraduates, undergraduate international students qualify for everything from our $500 scholarships to our $12,000 scholarships, which would also include in-state tuition, and those are offered to the highest achieving students. Some of our departments offer scholarships for undergraduate and graduate students, and my dean's office offers very small scholarships to master's students who are high academic achievers. So it's important for students to check the websites to see what kind of funding might be available at the universities that you're looking at. And just keep in mind that nobody is ever guaranteed funding. So now I want to switch gears a little bit and talk about email protocol. As someone who's been working in international admissions for a long time, I'm always surprised sometimes at the types of email I get, where it's like, hey, you, I need your help, tell me how to get into school, things like that, and do it right away. And so I figured that it's important to understand that email is a professional relationship with the admission officer, with an academic advisor, with a professor. If you're writing to faculty, you can just say, Dear Dr. Professor, and their last name. You can say, Dear Supervisor Larson, if it's staff or even a faculty if you're not sure. Dear Sir, Dear Admissions Officer, Dear Director, Dear Ms., Mrs., Mr., if you know the gender of the person you're writing to, okay? Keep that in mind. I very often get emails that say, Dear Mr. Larson, and at some point in my response, I have to say, oh, by the way, I'm female and not male. Titles do not dictate gender, which I think is something also to keep in mind. And never start with, hey, my friend, yo. Believe it or not, I got an email from a father the other day that said, hey, Lynn, how are ya? I was like, huh, interesting. Likewise, never start your first communication with someone by using the person's first name or given name. Always use their last name. And remember, this is not a personal letter, this is a professional letter, and you need to keep your language and things just professional. Next, please. So, when you are writing, make sure you use complete sentences and use punctuation. That's very important. And check your spelling and grammar. And if English is not your first language, find a friend who can proof it for you for any errors that might be there. Maybe you misspelled there, because there's so many different ways of spelling there, and we want to make sure that you're using the right there. My sister is always messing that up, and I always have to call her on it. And she's a native speaker of English, so never write in text speak. That's kind of offensive. Again, this same father writes to me in text language in an email, and it kind of drives me a little crazy, but there's not a whole lot I can do about that. When you're writing, be concise, direct, and honest, but do not demand something, okay? You can be direct, you can ask for something, but not in a demanding tone of voice. And your words are your own story, but your first email, it should be short and not your complete life story. And always be kind and say thank you at the end. Next, please. So what does concise mean? Whether it's verbal or written, your first email should be no more than 3 paragraphs. If the message addresses one issue or question. If you write too many questions, it may sort of throw off the person who's reading it, not really sure what kind of information you're actually looking for. If your email takes more than 3 paragraphs, it should probably become part of your application or essay, prompt answer to your application. A really good example of being concise is, good morning, Ms. Larson. My name is, I'm emailing you about scholarships. Please advise me on how to complete the paperwork if one parent is unreachable. That's a very nice way of asking me to do something and help guide you, okay? And it doesn't say anything that is not necessary. So that's what concise means. Next, please. And your message, what you write in your message is also very important. So when you're writing to someone at the university, make sure you've done some research on the university first, asking me to explain to you every single program I have, or every single department I have on my campus, or is housing available? What kind of sports do you have? All of that information is available on our websites. So if you write to me and just say, tell me everything, what I'm gonna do is write you back and just give you links to a few websites. And so you can go forward with that. Also, and I forget where I'm at. Hang on a second, we'll get you back. Technology, sometimes I love it. And sometimes stuff like this happens, so. Oh, perfect, okay. One back, excellent, great. Think about the purpose of the email. Why are you writing it? What do you want to get back from it? What kind of question do you want answered? What kind of direction are you looking for? And be very specific in your request. Is it an admission question? Is it an academic question? Or are you giving us information about your situation so that we can best guide you? We want to make sure our answers are accurate, and keep your message personal to you. Sometimes I'll get an email from a student that says, my friend said that, ... And it's not really from you. You're just clarifying something your friend told you. So keep it very personal to yourself. Next, please. So for PhD students, it's really important for you to do the research to find someone within a department that has the expertise in your field of interest. In that first email, when you are writing to a faculty member, keep in mind that faculty are extremely busy. They're teaching, they're doing research, they're writing papers, they're tutoring students, they're guiding their graduate students and their undergraduate students. So write no more than 1 to 4 sentences, as this is an introduction. And when you're writing, if you send a form letter that you're sending to a whole bunch of different universities at the first, all at the same time, you haven't targeted the one person you need in that department. So sometimes I'll get emails where maybe there's 15 different universities that are in the receipt box, and I can see who else the student is contacting, but it also means that the student hasn't really done any research on my institution. In that first email, don't attach a CV. You have to initiate contact with that professor first and establish a relationship. At some point, the professor or faculty member or chair of the department is going to ask you for more information, and at that time, it would be the appropriate time for you to include a resume or a CV. And again, always be polite and have a clear idea of your research area. It can't be general. And keep in mind my history example, right? History is big. What I wanted was much more concise. For PhD students, scholarships and fellowships are not guaranteed, although many, I would say probably 80% of our PhD students in the College of Engineering at my school are fully funded. The other 20% are partially funded. So you may need some money to be able to complete your PhD. And again, funding is never guaranteed. Next, please. So just for everybody, for email, create a professional email address that you're going to use if you don't already have one. Like mine is linlarson@uta.edu, and not something like Linus Aquinas, which is what my dad used to call me when I was small, okay? So remember, this is a professional relationship. You should have a professional email address. First name, first initial, last name followed by numbers of your birth date or something like that. And short, don't make it too long, because if for some reason I'm typing in, looking for you, I have to remember a whole bunch of numbers and letters. So, and then write down the address you create for your college applications as your professional email address, and check it at least once a week, because this is the way that all universities are going to communicate with you. Because of the time difference between the US and Qatar, it may be difficult for us to actually phone you at a time, right? And we want to make sure that you're getting all the information you need in a very timely manner. Also check your spam and your junk and your trash box, because sometimes if we're sending out massive emails to students, sometimes they end up in those categories, and you want to make sure you're not missing any information. If you write to us, don't send multiple emails if you don't hear from us within 10 minutes or an hour or 3 hours or 2 days. I'm really trying to keep my responses back to people within 24 hours, but my weekend is different than your weekend. And so I have Saturday and Sunday off, and I really try not to do any work on those days. And so just keep in mind that we will get back to you within a very reasonable period of time. Sometimes I'm not able to answer the question you have, and I might forward your email question to someone else at the university. So just make sure when you see something from someone else, also be professional. Remember to say thank you. But keep in mind that, it may be someone from the admissions office, and it may have a generic admission email address, or it may be from the department that you've written to, and the advisors use a general email. So just keep in mind that the answer may not come back directly from me if you write to me directly, or to another person on campus. Next, please. Great. So here is some information on how to get a hold of me, our engineering website. These two other email addresses, bnengineer@uta.edu, is specifically for undergraduate students. This email is answered by my current engineering student ambassadors. They are living the life of being an engineering student at my university, and they know the ins and outs of everything. So if you want to hear directly from a student, I have 4 of them working this summer, and I will have 10 or 12 working starting the fall term. They know everything about anything in engineering or UTA or the state of Texas, so they're a great resource. And again, the grad engineering one is for any graduate applicant. I have 3 graduate engineering students who are monitoring that email address. And again, they will be able to help answer your questions. And if they can't answer it, they may forward it to me or someone in a department to be able to help you, especially if it's specific information. And thank you all so much. This has really been a pleasure to talk to all of you. And I think now we're ready for questions.
Thank you, Lynn. A lot of great information for students who are interested in applying for an engineering program. We have a couple questions here on the chat. First, somebody is asking about architectural engineering, and I don't know if that's specifically, does your campus have architectural engineering?
We
or
do.
If you say something about the program.
Yeah, so we do have architectural engineering both at the bachelor and master's level. Architectural engineering is the melding of architecture and engineering. It's a very specific major where students will do engineering courses and architecture courses, and the end goal is to be the person who brings together the people who are designing something and the people who are actually building something. At my university, architectural engineering is within the civil engineering department.
Great. And then I have one other question here. It says, are there full scholarships for international students?
That's a great question. So at the undergraduate level, we have the presidential scholarship, which is for the highest achieving students, which is $12,000 plus the in-state tuition waiver. Out-of-state tuition is charged to anyone who is not a Texas resident. And that's the same with all public universities in the United States. So if you are not a resident of the state that you're going to, you're charged an extra fee because the taxpayer monies have been given to the universities for years and years and years. And so it's kind of a way of the universities thanking the students' families for supporting the universities, so they pay a lower fee. With our presidential scholarship, you will have all tuition dollars paid for. The thing that you would still have to come up with money for would be housing and food and health insurance. So it's not 100%, but it's pretty close. There are some universities, mostly private universities, that do offer full scholarships. My nephew goes to an Ivy League school, and there's no way the family could pay $90,000 a year, and he has a 90% scholarship based upon his excellent grades in high school. So there are some schools that do offer full scholarships. Students will not get full funding. If you get a graduate assistantship, you will pay a lower tuition rate and you'll get a stipend. There again, you're going to have to come up with some money. PhD students, yes, there are some PhD students who will get 100% funding and others who will get 50 to 90%. So it's kind of all over the board, and every single school is going to have different criteria for their funding of students. So I hope that answers the question.
I think so. Then I have another student asking, or another participant asking, what are the opportunities to find a job after completing a master's degree in the US? And there's a lot of factors, I think, that feed into that.
There are a lot of factors, especially now.
Especially now.
Especially now.
But maybe you can speak out some of the maybe international students from your campus who were able to extend for a year,
Sure.
finishing a degree in engineering?
Sure. So optional practical training is available to any international student who has graduated from a university in the US. For any student who's in STEM, you can start with the 1 year and then extend it to 3 years. If you're in business or anything that is not STEM, you are limited to 1 year optional practical training. So for STEM students, you have an option of, if your employer likes what you're doing, to extend that training to 3 years, which I think is fabulous. So a lot of our students have found jobs within the Dallas-Fort Worth metropolitan area, which is the fastest growing metropolitan area in the US. So there's a lot of construction, a lot of banking, a lot of health services that our students are getting jobs in. One of my international students, and this is going to sound weird, did an internship over the summer 1 year at Walt Disney World in Florida. He was an aerospace engineer. And you're thinking, Walt Disney World, aerospace, where's the connection? Well, if you think about it, Elon Musk wants to send a spaceship to Mars. Okay, everybody knows that, right? How much water can that spaceship hold? A limited number. There's no 7-Eleven, no grocery store you can stop at on your way to Mars to get more water. So this aerospace engineering student worked with the landscapers at Walt Disney World to find better ways of filtering the water that was being used. Right? Interesting, right? Yeah. He was so successful that they hired him after he graduated for a year, and he's still there 2 years later. So I think, you know, there's things like that that can happen. We also have students who are working in our health services industry. They're doing logistical things like speeding up the time process to get the drugs from the pharmacy to the patients, which is an important thing to think about. We have computer science graduates who are working in the banking, insurance, airline industry, you know, doing things like that. So our students do have a lot of opportunities, both here in the Dallas-Fort Worth metropolitan area and within the US. I have one student who did optional practical training at Amazon, another one at Google, another one at Facebook, others at Toyota and General Motors. So there are opportunities. Also within our college, as I mentioned before, we do have a staff member who does career training with all of our students. She sets up things like speed dating with local businesses, where you sign up for 10 minutes to talk to the businesses that come into our big atrium and have a little high standing table, and you just kind of speed date and find out what exactly that company does, if it matches what your career goals are. We bring in people from the industry to do lectures and info sessions on campus. I think that's pretty typical of almost any university. So there is career help.
That's great. Thank you for that information. It's very informative. I have another question here. Do you have aerospace and rocket engineering in your institution?
We do have aerospace engineering, and we actually have a student group called AeroMavs. This student group actually builds and sets off rockets all the time. So yes, we do have a alum of our aerospace engineering program who was a NASA astronaut. She was originally from India, and unfortunately she died during one of the failed landing attempts of the Columbia spaceship. So in our atrium, we have a very nice tribute to her, and her husband actually gave us one of her spacesuits that's in a glass enclosed thing. So yeah, we do a lot of stuff.
Sounds like it. Let's see. Somebody's asking about electronics and communication engineering. Do you have
Yes.
Okay.
We do. We definitely do within our electrical engineering department. We definitely do. We're working on a bunch of different projects with the city of Arlington to help it become a smart city. And so there's a lot of communication and things going on in that realm. We're also one of the only electrical engineering departments in North Texas that is working on speeding up and working on our telecommunications lines, as well as internet and other cool things that I don't understand.
Okay, we have a question here. You talked about doctorate studies, but we have somebody asking about postdoctorate studies. Are there opportunities?
Sure, yeah, we do have a lot of postdoc researchers in our labs.
Okay.
At least they're getting back into their labs slowly because of COVID-19. I would say, I don't know the exact number, but I know we have postdoc researchers from India and China and Spain, and a number of other countries in labs all over. If you're looking for a postdoc position, it's extremely important that you find that 1 or 2 faculty members in the department who are going to be able to help you, right, and work alongside you. Just writing to say, hey, I'm a postdoc and I want to come to your school, that's not good enough. You really need to have done your research.
That makes sense. Absolutely. Let's see. I have Omar asking, do my years spent studying as an undergraduate count towards the requirements for a green card? Okay, I think we'll address this to the counselor section. That's a visa question. So
that is a visa question.
Yeah, so we'll table that question now, Omar, and we'll send you the link where we can you can get that information. Yeah, and then let's see. I have a question here from Ali. Sorry, I'm going to try to say I want to study my master's in architectural engineering. He has a BS in architectural engineering. Do I have a chance to get admissions?
Yes, absolutely. Architectural engineering, excuse me, is one of the majors that if you have a degree in architecture or in civil engineering or in architectural engineering, you're going to be really well prepared to go on to the master's program. So that's definitely true. And I'd love to see an application from you at some point.
He's also asking, see, if it's a conditional to study English. So is the proficiency for English language? Is
So we do have an English language center on our campus. And so if you need that extra English language training and experience, depending on what level you think you are, I always suggest if you're at a medium to a higher range, but you just need some tweaking and some other stuff, come for the summer, part of the summer before you actually join the cohort of students in the fall. So that is also available to you, and we do conditional admission based on English proficiency. Okay,
and then I think you mentioned the GRE. Is it a requirement, or are you?
So for this fall, it was not a requirement, especially, excuse me, during the time that GRE centers were closed and before they made the GRE online available. We will accept the GRE online, but we also know that not all students have excellent internet access. And so if you are unable to do the online GRE, you just need to tell us the reason why. It doesn't really help or harm your application. If the GRE is not included, we will look for other things in your application. We might ask you for an extra letter of recommendation from one of your professors or things like that. So there are other ways of admitting students besides just grades and test scores.
Okay, well, thank you. If there aren't any, are there any more questions? We've addressed the ones that I've seen in the chat box. What I would like to recommend for the participants to take a screenshot of Lynn's contact information. If you have questions that you think of later and would like to address them, you're welcome to email.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, one more question. Let me see, my daughter's a citizen. Somebody's asking about FAFSA. she said, my daughter is a citizen, but we are living in Qatar, so I'm a U.S. citizen. So she's going to do the FAFSA for undergrad admissions.
Okay.
When parents are not citizens.
That's fine. So I've run into this a lot. And what I usually tell people is go ahead and fill out the FAFSA.
Okay.
They'll fill it out with the student's social security number. If a parent has a social security number, put that in there. If the parent doesn't have a social security number, if you put in all zeros, you'll still be able to. So as long as the student has a social security number and a US passport, they are able to apply for the FAFSA. And it doesn't matter what passport the parent holds.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Okay. Okay, I think that wraps it up. Do we have there, oh, a seal there. And there's our contact information at the U.S. Embassy in Doha, and also our Education USA email address. So if you have questions, maybe not specifically to the engineering program, but general questions about applying for college, getting ready to travel to the United States for university or college, or any questions at all about attending university, please do reach out to us. Also follow us on our Facebook and our Twitter accounts. We'll be having more sessions going forward, so stay tuned for those. We'll be having sessions actually throughout the summer, and so we'd love for all of you to join us. Let's see, Asil, do you have anything you would like to add? Or
thank you so much, Lynn. Thank you so much, Paula. Just a reminder for all of the participants today. Thank you so much for joining us. Please, if you would like to have a recording of the video for today, it's live on our Facebook page. So this Facebook, which is Education USA Qatar, if you go there, you will find it there. And as Paula mentioned, please stay tuned, follow us, keep an eye on our Facebook page, the Embassy Facebook page. We always announce for our upcoming sessions. We will have almost a session every week. So our next session will be soon on the 24th. We will have also another session on the 30th. Please have a look and keep following us. And you are most welcome to join. You are most welcome to share the information, the announcements of our sessions with people who are interested, who would benefit. And feel free also to take screenshots of the contact information of Lynn. Thank you so much, Lynn. Thank you, Paula.
oh, thank you, Len.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to chat with your students. It was a wonderful time.
Okay. Melissa, do you have anything or?
Just one quick note, because I know we do have people who've joined us from outside of Qatar as well. As I mentioned at the beginning, we are a global network, so chances are we have Education USA centers in your country. So as you'll see at the bottom of this page here, the contact information, if you go to the Education USA website, you will be able to search for an EdUSA center in your country. So you are able to contact advisors that know your educational system and particular context as well to be able to help you specifically with that. So please feel free to join any of the EdUSA sessions that you see online, including the ones here in Qatar, but also know that you have local resources available to you for your individual advising needs. So feel free to reach there.
And sorry, some last minute note as well. So those of you who have registered, you will get a survey. It's just like a limited number of questions. We would be so much grateful to you if you take the time, just a few minutes to just answer those questions. So thank you so much in advance.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you all.
Thank you so much for joining. Thanks again.
You're welcome. Have a good evening, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You too. Have a great one.